On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch.
Coming in at 320 kilobytes per second. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Matty C Sports for you and me.
When it comes to getting dough and chasing dollars.
All right, hello everybody. Matty C Sports for you and me. As you all know, I probably took a break for a little bit, but that's good. Got a lot of stuff going on, but I'd like to introduce my new friend Nate Comrie, and he is from Soryline Tees out of NYC. And he's got some good stuff, everybody. Good stuff. I was introduced by a family member, and he's got some dope wrestling merch, and I'm sure you're dabbling in other stuff too. But how you doing today?
Oh, good, man. Good, man. Glad to be here. You know, just trying to make it work. I got a lot of things in the works now, like you were saying. You know, I have a whole lot of different, avenues. And yeah, man, just glad to be here.
Cool. So you started this company in 2020. When exactly in 2020 did you start?
We started in January. Our first drop was January of 2020. We had dropped a Brian Pillman shirt that we called the Loose Cannon. So most of our shirts in the beginning were inspired by comic books. So that's why they have like that comic book cover feel. So with Soryline Tees, what we wanted to do is with everything we drop, whether it be, looking like a comic book or just anything in general, anything that the art has to do, we wanted to tell a story. We wanted when somebody looks at it, like, oh, it brings you back to a memory. You start talking about it, and that's the storyline. That's hence Soryline Tees.
Okay, cool. Because when I started, it was actually during the pandemic in April was my first episode, and I'm sure it was much more different than you. It was tough out there for a while. In the podcasting world, it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Not in a bad way. I want to say that, but people were actually home, so it's like you could talk to people a lot more and have more access to promote brands and stuff like that. And it like I said, a blessing in disguise, but it made people appreciate, people like you and I, like we could take more time to like make better product, make a better podcast and stuff like that. Yes. And so it gave us a lot of ideas, and I got a lot of good things out of it. So were you still producing during the pandemic, or was there a certain freeze in that time?
Yeah, I mean, we were still doing our podcast, the 20 by 20 podcast, which is, a podcast that revolves around pro wrestling, pop culture topics, references, and hip hop in itself. And when the pandemic came, it gave us more time to like strategize our show, know what we want to do with the show. Try not to be like everybody else. I know everybody loves to give their takes and on shows happening during the week, pay-per-view events and stuff like that, but we wanted it to be more of a conversation. We wanted it to be more of a discussion, just bringing in topics. And with the pandemic, I mean, it gave everybody time. That's what it did.
Absolutely.
You start thinking and dwell, sometimes you dwell on a couple of things, but you want to change that. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to change the podcast, give somebody something different. And not for nothing, like the creative juices started flowing, and then, so did the t-shirts, and when we got into the winter season, so did the sweaters and everything we wanted to do was that as well.
And when you said hip hop style and, comic books and stuff like that, I found it like when I saw all your apparel, I was like, oh my God, this stuff is fire right now. You guys with the sweatshirt you got on right now, like that stuff's like really cool, because like who would think of that? Like, I seen that emblem at Macy's like 5 or 10 years ago. Now it's back in a wrestling form, and I'm like, damn, like that's That's some cool shit. And you know, like I love the comic book style, and I thought your stuff was just unreal. Like, like, did that just come into your head, or do you have like people working with you with this stuff?
Well, you know, me and my boys that started the podcast, we always wanted to put out T-shirts, and we always wanted to do something. We wanted to try to stick out from everything else. And before anything became legit of last year in 2020, in 2019, we came out with a mashup shirt, which is where we took the cover of NWA Straight Outta Compton, and we put the NWO as the NWA. So we did something like that, and you know, it kind of clicked with everybody. Like, oh, I've never seen something like this before, or if I did see it, I never seen it to this extent. So we pressed up about 50 shirts. It took us I'll say like a month to sell all 50, and that was just grinding. That was being out in the events, you know, reviewing parties for wrestling events, going to indie shows, going everywhere, letting people see the merch itself, and then giving it to some people as well. You know, there was a lot of free stuff there too, you know, just to get the word out. And I was very focused in wanting to make this a reality. So with our first design, the Loose Cannon Brian Pillman shirt, I've never seen a custom Brian Pillman shirt. I haven't seen it until, you know, we came out with something, and I was just looking for artists, because I don't draw myself, you know, like especially like the polar bear. We took the polar bear, we put him looking like The Rock when he was wearing all the Versace and stuff like that. The Attitude Era. And you know, shout out to the artist I worked with on that, Chris Gomez. He's phenomenal. He's from New York City as well. But with the Brian Pillman, I was looking for an artist that does kind of like that comic book reference, but making it look a little realistic. So I bumped into a guy that goes by the name of Dream Match Wrestling. And I was just scrolling through his feed, and I was just like in awe of everything he did. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I need this guy to bring this to life. So we were talking about ideas. I told him I wanted like a comic book feel, something a pop, something that, you know, like when somebody sees it, they know that not only that it's unique and custom, but that it's so far they need to have it themselves. So we went through a couple of different designs, and he's like, yo, give me 24 days. I mean, give me 24 hours. I have an idea. I just want to put it out there. I just don't know how to explain it. And then he gave me the reference to what the shirt was. And I was just like, all right, fuck whatever I said last time. Let's go with this. I really like this right here. So I just gave him the concept, which was Brian Pillman. It was that segment with him pulling out the gun on Austin. I told him I need the faces of the segment to be part of the shirt. I need Austin's face, his wife, Kevin Kelly, who was the announcer at the moment. You know, like I need all their faces there. I want everybody to understand and feel what this shirt is. Basically telling a story. So then we came with that one, and that was the first shirt, and it got so much attention that it got the attention of his son, Brian Pillman Jr., who's a wrestler in AEW right now. And, you know, I've been shelling out some designs to him. Hopefully when his father's Dark Side of the Ring comes out, maybe we could come out with something. I don't know. We'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like capturing the moment like that, and that's so amazing that you did that. And like you know, when I see wrestling type of shirts and stuff, it's like the basic Austin 316 with the Stone Cold like skull in the back, and you know, you got like, I mean, I can't say enough. Like, I love Ric Flair, so like I got the Ric Flair shirt and stuff like that. But a lot of people are wearing the same thing at different wrestling events. And me personally, I'm I would say like not a fair weather, but like kind of like a wrestling fan, but not like as serious as some people where they watch Raw and watch everything like religiously. But like
really watching.
Right, but like when you go to these like you say indie shows, like right now I have a Beyond Wrestling that was out here in Massachusetts, man. And I go, so they had a show in Faneuil Hall in Boston, and I was like, when you're up close, like up close, and you see these guys like going all out, and like they're just like drenched in sweat, and they're like going like it was nothing, and like it was like the size of like a small venue, and they were throwing each other out the ring and stuff, and I'm like, like, dude, like these guys are like out of their mind. But like at the time, I went to two events. One was in Foxborough near the where the Patriots play at Gillette, and one was in, again, Faneuil Hall. And it's like, in Boston we have a good appreciation of sports, so that was awesome to be in that zone. And at the time, Orange Cassidy at AEW was with Beyond Wrestling, so like I got to meet him, and he's just as quiet as his character. Like I think he just does that outside of it too, which is pretty cool. But like him and that weird juice thing, man, it confuses the hell out of me. But I tell you, man, like it's a very serious following in people's minds and stuff. Like they're buying indie TV packages, they're buying wrestling packages and stuff like that. So I mean, are you like as dedicated with that wrestling aspect?
Oh yeah, like especially like my whole goal right now, especially with the t-shirts and stuff like that, is to kind of like put the shine on indie wrestlers. I have idea. I mean, like I follow everything. Of course, the start for me was WWF at the time, but now it's WWE, and just everything going on there. WCW as well. As soon as I got hooked on Ric Flair, that and the Four Horsemen, that was everything for me as a kid.
Yeah.
But now, with so many indie promotions, especially out here in the East Coast, I would love to put shine on some of those indie wrestlers because I know their stories. And I know that if they would give me a chance to design something for them, because I work closely with about 3 or 4 artists at the moment, to where like I trust them, I give them an idea, and I know they could bring out exactly what I'm talking about, but just add their little flair to it, which I don't mind, because I always looking for something unique. And yeah, like I'm definitely dedicated to it. I have the packages, have a New Japan package, WWE, the Fight Network, because they're the ones that host a lot of the indie shows. And it right there in itself, I'm spending easily like $50 a month.
Yeah.
Events just to watch it. But at the end of the day, it's a lot cheaper than what my mom used to spend when I was a kid, because you got two people.
Oh yeah.
You're looking at about $100,
Yeah, I mean, the wrestling's evolved, and like in our time, we're used to seeing, like, I mean, you go back like young Undertaker. Like I don't think the new generation understands how powerful those wrestlers were, and like seeing like Andre the Giant, and seeing like I could just name everybody. Eddie Guerrero, like I know you dealt with that stuff right there, and the stuff you got there is pretty dope with that line right there.
Thank you.
So it's like it's a whole new generation of wrestling, but the old school wrestling is what we'll always remember, and like people will see it on repeat, like the younger generation, but they won't understand how much of a value that wrestling made for people in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, even into the 2000s a little bit. But on the other hand, like it may come back, like with your clothing line, like it seems like you're branching out into different things. And let me ask you, with the coffee time, like what's that all about right there?
All right, so that's one of my boys, Sir Wilkins. He's from the Jobbeteers podcast. They're well-known podcasts out here, not only in New York, but just across the country in itself. And he has a segment that he hosts every morning, afternoon, or whenever like something pops, he has to talk about it. So he was always having a cup of coffee when it was in the morning. He's
Okay.
like, Sir Wilkins of the Jobbeteers podcast, I hope all is well. And then he'll go into his topic. And I remember once I was like, hashtag coffee talk, and I seen that he was doing coffee talk, and I was like, all right. And I love the segment. Like from the beginning, I was in awe of that whole segment. And an idea just popped in my head. So I hit up my boy Chris Gomez, and I was just like, yo, I have this idea. I want you to look at this segment. He's talking about wrestling. Sometimes people are not really fond of what he's saying. A lot of the times people are really agreeing with what he's saying and going with it. And I was like, oh man, it's like if this guy had a microphone and he was just, talking to wrestling, like kind of like, just pushing a promo, how wrestlers do. So I just like, oh, this seems easy in my head. So I just gave him all the ideas and I got it done. And I went to him, I was like, yo, Wilkins, I have this dope, design. I think this should be on a shirt. I told him, I was like, yo, let's go 50-50. I'll pay for the design. Don't worry about anything else. I was like, I just feel like you need this to make your segment even more, like just having merch for it. And he loved it. And we've been rolling with it ever since. I mean, the sales have been pretty good for that as well. And it's just, it's like that. It's like stuff like that, like giving wrestling fans an alternative to the merchandise. Like you said, a lot of it is generic, and I understand that some people like that. Some people like the more gimmicky stuff, like how I do with the comic books and stuff like that. So I try to alter it in a way where not only is it more for an adult eye, but like if a kid that's about 10, 11, 12 years old, like we know when we grew up, we kind of grew up a little quick, and we were liking a lot more adult content. So I feel like I try to mix that in and just make it seem more authentic, for the times. So the Coffee Talk Show definitely talks to a lot of people where they, they could voice their own opinion. That's what that's all about.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's rising up, and and it seems like you really have a good sense of at the idea of a time, like you're like a light bulb. You're like, all right, I have this idea, like I gotta get this down. I gotta get this all set right now. And then it becomes what you create. And I appreciate that, because a lot of people can't think on their feet like that. They'll like think of it and then they'll be like, what was I thinking about?
Yeah, I'm always
But yeah, I mean, is there a big influence in NYC with wrestling? I mean, is there really big wrestling going on in NYC?
Definitely. I mean, just by going to the viewing parties, the Jobber-Tiers host viewing parties all the time for the pay-per-view events, especially since we've opened up again, and now we've gone from 25 to 50%. You can see the wrestling fans start coming back out, because before the pandemic, I mean, these viewing parties were big. You had prominent locations in Midtown Manhattan, which is a busy district,
right?
Hosting these viewing parties, and you'll get 50, 100. If it's WrestleMania, you'll get over 100 people just in that bar to watch wrestling. You got a spot that holds about 400 to 500 people, and 30, maybe 40% of the people in there, they're there to watch wrestling, not there to watch anything else.
Wow.
So it's big. It's big.
So that's kind of like, so I compare that to, like UFC. So like people don't want to, I mean, I'm sure you got to pay at those venues, right? Like you got to pay to go in.
Well, I mean,
like that.
If you get a table, I'm pretty sure, of course you gotta pay for your eats and your drinks and stuff like that, but It's all free admission as long as you go to the app Eventbrite. And
okay, it's in that type of event. Okay,
register your free tickets through there, and if they're still available, you got them, and just come through. But it makes it easier for the wrestling fan. I know some don't want to pay all the money that is to get these networks and all this other stuff. So why not enjoy what you love enjoying, which is pro wrestling, with other people that have the same
passion
idea.
Stuff.
Passion. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I compare that to like UFC. So people all flock to like, say, Buffalo Wild Wings because they're licensed to get those fights on there. And that's a big thing. Like you said, it's great to do it that way. But if you're not there at like, I say 8:00, then yeah, exactly. Then at 10:00, you got people, you can't even get out. Like that's how bad it is. Like it's just so full. And like, it's a big UFC thing here because, we have there's a lot of Irish fighters out there. Conor McGregor's a big one. And then, watching John Jones and like Woodley and stuff like that, like is big doings around here with UFC. And I'm sure with the wrestling, it's pretty big here too. I just don't know anything about like where where they would have those sort of events, and I'm sure there are equivalent here.
There's not many. I'll be honest. There's not many. It's like UFC and how boxing was before, because boxing is not really like that anymore. I mean, I'm a big fan. I love MMA. I love boxing. I love the fact that we're getting the heavyweight division is on the rise. I love that, but it's not like before. It's not like how these sports bars used to be. I mean, MMA is kind of like taking that over, the viewing party stuff, and everybody wanting to see these fights. I just wish the cards were a little smaller.
The thing that gets me is people don't understand that, like you said, with boxing, like I could tell you right now, I'm sure you knew about Lomachenko fighting Lopez, and we were like, and me, I was like, holy shit, like this guy just came out of nowhere. But like Lomachenko was like, all right, I'm gonna pitter patter for 6 or 7 rounds, and then I'm gonna, like, when Lopez was like, no, I'm taking your belt, I'm taking whatever you got.
Yep.
And like people don't understand the passion with that too. Like boxing is making a comeback, and especially when Top Rank is making it so people can watch boxing on and not always have to pay for a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's
that
like,
was amazing with you're talking about DAZN, right? The zone.
what'd you say? I'm sorry.
You're talking about the app they have on the zone, DAZN, or whatever it is called.
They have that, but also ESPN is doing Top Rank fights too. And when those are free, like who sees Lomachenko is a pay-per-view fighter, I think. And now with Lopez too, I think he's going to become a pay-per-view fighter too, because that kid had so much heart.
He's a beast. What he did to Lomachenko is just eye-popping. I couldn't believe it.
Oh yeah. That the last time I saw that was when Kelly Pavlik beat
I haven't heard that name in a while.
yeah, Kelly Pavlik and wasn't B-Hop. It was I can't even remember. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, boxing is making a comeback. I mean, wrestling is always going to be what it's going to be. Yeah. And I love the independent wrestling. I got a lot more respect for it now because I was taken to the 2 events because I liked them so much, because it's like these guys are fighting for jobs and they're like coming from wherever, like, in the ring announcers are like, get the fuck out of here. Like, somebody's acting out of line. They're like it's crazy. And it's just such a passionate sport. And like with your apparel, like I feel like you're like when you're going to branch out more, like that's the thing is people are not going to see or know about like what you have. And that's like, oh shit, that's like a dope shirt or sweatshirt or whatever. And like, I feel like that's what you're trying to do. Now, have you branched out more nationwide right now? Or are you like prominently in the New York area?
Well, we're based out of New York, out of New York City. Right now it's starting to branch a little more, where I'm getting orders out west, California, Las Vegas, Arizona, and in some parts of the Midwest as well, Ohio, Chicago, down south, like in Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, Oklahoma. I'm just seeing this and I'm just like, wow. I'm like, all right, so now it's starting to gain a little traction. Like my whole goal is, yeah, of course, covering the whole United States, maybe hopefully getting a shipping method to go to the UK. They said that in the UK and Europe in itself, wrestling is it's crazy. It's a hotbed, and I'm just trying to be different, like I just want anything I come out with to speak to anybody that watches wrestling. I have ideas where I want to branch out to different things. That's why I call it Soryline Tees, because everything has a storyline, whether it be in wrestling, basketball, baseball, football. There's storylines all within that. A couple years ago, if you think about it, the headlines, the story was, where's Kevin Durant going before he went to the Golden State Warriors. Then he went to the Golden State Warriors, and everybody kind of like talk trash on him. Oh, you went there because you're chasing rings. Blah, blah, blah. That's a story there. You just have to have the illustration in order to bring it out.
Right, exactly. And with Kevin Durant, like when he was playing for Oklahoma City, he was the quietest dude, and then all of a sudden he goes to Golden State and he's like speaking his mind finally. And it's like,
Yeah,
good for you. Like
yeah.
the guy has amazing talent, and I've always respected Kevin Durant in his game. Like now in Boston right now, like we have some good players, and we got Tatum, we got Brown, we
Yeah.
got
Fish. I love Tatum.
yeah. I'm very shocked that Brooklyn isn't what they should on paper look, but I just don't think they're really a combination team. I don't think they're blending together well. In the Knicks, I don't even know what's going on with the Knicks anymore.
Well, I mean, we're having our best season in what, almost 10 years. And I like what they're doing. They're sticking with their young guns. They're sticking with Randall, Barrett, and all these other young guys. Mitch Robinson got hurt again, but it's just all in due time. It's just like how it was in OKC, how it was in Golden State. Before they were great. They put trust into their young talent to develop, and that's what it is. So fingers crossed right here.
Well, with Storyline, are you gonna try to branch out to possibly reach into the NBA and reach into like different sports? Of course, I know you probably want to branch out, and you got very talented work with artists you have there, and like with your knowledge of what you want to produce. Like, I mean, are you trying to get into branching out besides wrestling?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's the goal. It's one of the goals. Hopefully, within the next year or two, coming out with stuff that could translate towards those sports as well. There's always a story and everything, like I said earlier. So that is one of the goals, and hopefully we can meet that.
Absolutely. And with, I should say, the Barclays Center and MSG, have there been matches there? Have there been wrestling stuff going on
They,
at
they just opened up to basketball. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's like 10%. Brooklyn is holding, I think, about 1,000 people at game. I know MSG, the Knicks are holding about 25. I know they're gonna start building up. I think they're going up to 25% now.
I was meaning, if you seen like a wrestling event like
Oh,
past
so,
COVID, like at
yeah. Oh, definitely. I've since a kid, going to MSG for live events, being there for pay-per-view events, so Barclays Center as well. The last time they had SummerSlam, I was there. NXT events. Oh, forget about it. I mean, I love going to everything. I went to not this WrestleMania, not the WrestleMania that passed in WrestleMania 35. I was there, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 29 was the last time before that, when they were in the New York, New Jersey area, and I went to the Giant Stadium for that one.
wow, dude, that was fucking probably so dope to see that, dude. Like all those people, you're like,
You're talking about 80,000 people in one sitting. The traffic coming out, of course, was bananas, but that's another.
yeah. I'd say my equivalent to how loud it is was probably Stanley Cup again with Boston Bruins, and Celtics playoff games are a whole nother realm. And
I can only
you don't
imagine.
hear you can't hear the Garden more louder than they are louder than Bruins fans, believe it or not. When only during playoff times though, that's when I think they really burst out, and it's absolutely amazing. And it's unfortunate because the Celtics need that fan base. The Bruins, the Knicks, even the Jets, for Christ's sake.
It's a passionate fan base, man, and you hear them. You don't hear them only in the stadiums, in the stands, and all. Like, you hear them through social media. You hear them in the streets. They're very passionate. They're gonna talk their talk and let you know like how much they love their teams. So that's why, I mean, there's always a rivalry between Boston and New York, but you just gotta love the the atmosphere, that tense atmosphere where it's in the air. You could feel
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
It's like an imaginary feeling. You can't even describe it.
That's like, I see different, like, NYC is like the mecca for basketball, hip hop, like everything good comes out of NYC. We don't got a lot of good rappers out here if you don't know by now. But it's great to know that, like, I mean, even Action Bronson, he's a big Jets fan and stuff, but he represents you guys proudly, and I think he is a big wrestling fan too.
Oh, he is. He's actually from the same neighborhood I'm from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's from Flushing, Queens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's so cool that like interconnected together.
Oh, definitely. I wish I could get him to wear some of my stuff. That would be even better.
He should rep his neighborhood friend. Come on now.
Yeah.
So what my next thing is, what is the future holding for you for this apparel? Like what makes you want to expand? Are you going to go into like snapbacks or like stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got some samples that I got in the works. Like, just windbreaker jackets, different types of sweaters. I want to do snapbacks, of course. It's just getting the right fits and the right materials to make that happen. Sometimes I'm a little too passionate and I try to move a little too quick for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to kind of center myself and tell myself, you know what, it's gonna come. You just gotta find what you feel comfortable with, because that's the thing. Like, I've been wanting to do sweaters since last year, and I just couldn't find the fit. And I was like, you know what, I shouldn't do it unless I have it. And then I came, mistakenly came into one brand of sweaters, and I loved it. And I was like, you know what, let me see how this translate for printing, for DTG printing. And things were coming out amazing, official. So I couldn't stop. I was like, you know what, this is what it's going to be. So we're doing it like that. But definitely, going into the whole snapback stuff, definitely got something cooking up for that. Hopefully it'll come out and it'll be successful. But one thing that I really want to do, if not this summer, maybe next, is do a pop-up shop. So
oh yeah.
Something that I'm trying to work on. Trying to hit up different vendors, have different tables there, and just make it kind of like a block party type feel. Bring
Right,
back
yeah.
that summertime feel in New York City again, but just with pro wrestling and hip hop.
Yeah, just not as hot as it was, and do the right thing.
No, chill. I don't need nobody fainting. I'll have items there.
Fuck them fucking pizza, man, Yeah, so that sounds like you're really moving forward, and you're taking passion for this, and that's what's a good thing. And that's usually my thing. If I have a good rapport with people I do interviews with, I'll rep their hats and whatever shirts all day. I'm a hat person, so like if I don't like your stuff, then I'm never gonna wear your hat ever.
Yeah, man. As soon as we get a really, really dope snapback, I'll have one sent straight to you, brother. Don't worry about it.
Awesome. So yeah, so it sounds like stuff's moving along, and hopefully with promotion from different people. Obviously me, I'll rep this, I'll send this shit out like fire, but
Thank you. Appreciate it.
But I do wish you nothing but success, and I'm loving the sweatshirt, the shirts that you're coming out with, and glad that my cousin showed me what you're all about and what your clothing line's all about. And again, wish you nothing but success, and we'll definitely talk again, have an update show, or you can give me a train ticket to NYC and I'll come visit.
Good, brother. I like that. Your cousin James, right?
Yeah, he's my wife's cousin, but like,
yeah, shout out to
I don't
James.
know what else you would call it. I just say, I'm not gonna say cousin-in-law, I'll just say cousin.
Hey, family, shout out to James, man. Good man right there.
But yeah, so let's try to make something happen again, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and thanks again. And Soryline tees, everybody. So if you like that custom apparel, you like wrestling, and just like generally good apparel, like this is quality stuff. You're not going to get bullshit. Like, you're not going to get a big cut or a big like faded mark right after you wash it the first day. So
I try to make sure these joints last. So
yeah,
definitely.
So
and thank you for having me on, man. It's a honor. It's an honor to be on, man. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate it.
You too, Nate. And yeah, I'll definitely make sure that people know what this brand is.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody in Matty C's world, as I say, check this episode out, and we'll have another one soon. And thanks again, Nate. I appreciate it.
Thank you, my brother. Be safe, man.
All right. Thank you.
What's up? We the BMG Boys. And thank you for listening. Please follow his Facebook page and subscribe to his podcast at Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Let's go.